Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Fit Lawyer Pod. And I am your host, Fit Lawyer Julia. And today's episode was actually recorded a long time ago. This guest is actually my first guest, but I didn't post it then because we had some technical difficulties. His video was not uploading properly, and I couldn't figure out the transcript to get the subtitles. So that's why I am just putting out his episode. But me and him, we go way back since law school days, and we actually share a very special experience together because we were roommates when we were both studying abroad in Chile with our law school. And that was, oh my God, that was, oh my God, I feel old as fuck right now. That was summer of 2014. That was almost a whole ass decade ago. Pause for dramatic effect, but it's okay. Aging is a blessing. Um, so it's just so amazing to see how far he's come in his career since, the days of our law school youth. But he looks great. He literally is in like phenomenal shape. He looks amazing. He is a solo practitioner, so he is his own boss. And we actually have very similar Instagram handles. I'm Fit Lawyer Julia, and he is Mr. Fit Lawyer. So if you are on Instagram, definitely go give him a follow. And I see him at EOS all the time, and he looks phenomenal. He does it all kind of on his own. He doesn't have a coach or a trainer, just sheer will and determination and discipline. So big kudos to him. And it was just such a beautiful conversation to see, what got him in law, the different law firms he worked at, his experience on being both an employee and now his own boss as a solo practitioner, and really what got him into law as well. And he'll speak a little bit about being in the LGBTQ plus community in this industry. So without further ado, here is Adrian. Hi,
Hey
Adrian.
there.
Well,
Good to join
first
you.
of all, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I know you're a busy man. You got cases to follow up on and weights to move.
Sadly, but yes, and then good with the last part of what you said. So the cases are annoying, but the lifting weights is fun.
Hey, that's the balance, right? Gotta do some mental training and then some physical training.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. So, again, thank you so much for doing this. You're actually my first guest. Woo woo.
Nice.
So, yeah. So, a little introduction. Adrian is a locally licensed attorney. He's also an avid gym goer. We both go to EOS out in Point Loma. Shout out if you want to give us some free membership. That'd be cool too, or some free shirts.
I'll
And
take.
yeah, and Adrian and I actually go like I said, we met in law school, which was, oh man, what, like a decade ago? Am I
Yeah,
aging us?
I know.
Eee.
We go way back.
Yeah, like
10 plus years now.
were were we in summer enrichment? Did you do summer enrichment too?
No, but you and I were in Professor Furman's class for what was that? What was that program called? I can't even remember. But
Oh, legal studies,
league, yeah,
the
right.
small group one.
Yeah, exactly. So basically,
Yeah.
from my experience, yeah, I didn't know. I forgot you did summer enrichment. So you had a whole semester in the summer before we started. But from
Yeah.
my end, I've known you from the way beginning. So
Oh yeah, because we were in a group, so we were both in group 3. So we literally
right,
had pretty much every single class together. our first year of
Exactly.
law school. And
Yeah.
then we lived together in Santiago when we did the study abroad program in Chile.
Yeah.
So that was um, really fun.
Totally.
A lot, quite a few things have changed since then. Even Chile was like what, just pretty much just like also like 9 years ago, huh? Because that was
24.
2014.
Yeah. Our summer 2014. Yeah.
God, God
There.
damn, time flies. But you know
Well,
what's great? You still look good. I know I look good.
heck
You
yeah.
know, it's
Yeah.
I think yeah, I think grew up and glowed up. So
Right.
not mad at that. But yeah, so let's start from the beginning then. What made you want to go into law?
Well, so initially I didn't want to necessarily do law school. When I was in undergrad, I was thinking of maybe like doing academia or something, and then
Mm-hmm.
that was, during the '08 crash. There were still reverberations of that, and basically at that time everybody was like there's no jobs anywhere, and
Mm-hmm.
it was really sad, because pretty much, you go to college, and then when you graduate, at least for me, um, you know the first job I got after college was like working at the mall. So there
Oh
were no jobs,
no.
like anything. So back before '08 crash, the thing was, you get a college degree, you could get a good job, and obviously things changed. So I had to really like think about what I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do, and so I had started some other graduate programs, and nothing like really clicked. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll try law school. Um, but before I do that, I want to go to, maybe I should be a paralegal first and work at a law office, because I had no experience with the law at all. It was all just theoretical. So, long story short, I went to a paralegal program through the University of San Diego, and then got um, certificated, is what they call, through that program. And then I started working at a law firm with this attorney. And basically, I was like, I can do what she's doing. So, and she was very instrumental in helping me with the LSATs and my law school application, and yeah, and so that's what kind of got me on that path.
Nice. And what was your undergrad major?
So I double majored. One of them was English and comparative literary studies, and then German.
Oh, wow. How much of the German do you still remember?
I mean, I can still. So after undergrad, for a couple of years, I continued living, or I after um, undergrad, I moved to Germany for like
Oh,
two
wow.
years. Yeah, yeah, and so I lived there for a few years. And so back then, I was thinking I might just be an expat and stay in Europe. And then I realized, um, I love California. I love San Diego. This is where I'm originally from, San Diego. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so I was like, why am I living in this place which is really cold and gloomy when Diego? So yeah, so after a few years, I came back, and I still like, I think after studying it for so long and living there for a few years, it's still, I can still retain it, although I don't really use it that much. So
Wow, that's awesome. I didn't know that. I didn't know you lived out in Germany for a few years. I know you're quite an avid traveler, but that's awesome. So you speak like three languages because you're also fluent in Spanish, right?
yeah, yeah, I mean, in all reality, what I probably should have done. I mean, I had a great experience with Germany, but I probably should have, considering I use Spanish a lot more, maybe it would have been
Yeah.
to have majored in Spanish and lived in, Latin America. But I had a
You
great time.
did live in Latin America.
I did, yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's cool. Wow. So you graduated and it's '08. Things are kind of shitty, economy shitty. Then so
right,
you went, got your certificate in law, decided this was something you can do, and
yeah.
then do the whole LSAT process. And then how did you decide on California Western?
So for me, it really came down to the money. I, wanted to do. I wanted to stay local in San Diego. I had by that point I had lived in like so many places in Europe and different things, and I was like, I just want to stay in San Diego, and I don't want to be
Yeah.
living in any other random places. So I was like, I'm going to stay in San Diego, and here in San Diego, at that time, and I think still is, three law schools that are really the places to go. And so at that point, I just kind of had to figure out what who's going to give me the best deal, what can I get into, and ultimately California Western was the one to go. So maybe if I had opened up my horizons to different places and different locations, I may have gone to a different law school. But at that time, you know
Hmm.
um, that's I wanted to stay in San Diego. So
Yeah. And then did you were you entertaining other law schools at all, or were you pretty set on Cal West?
I had well, and it's I have to really think back because know,
Long time
yeah,
ago.
I know, because I think I had like I really wanted to stay in San Diego, but I kind of and just in case. But
You're cutting out a little bit, Adrian.
oh, I'm sorry. All right, is this a little bit better, or still
Yeah,
not
yeah.
good? Okay.
Nope,
Yeah,
it's better now. So the other law schools, I think you're saying you did consider,
y-
or I
yeah,
think you were
yeah.
mentioning the other law schools. Yeah,
Yeah, so I kind of expanded it a little bit out of California, but I think for me, because mind you, this time was still very much we were, you and I started in 2013, so even by
oh
then,
God.
the economy was like still not fully, 100%. I don't know what things you were seeing, but I mean, there was a real concern that like some people were even saying you could graduate law school and like not get a job or something, so it was a pretty big risk to go to law school, and then so I had looked at some other schools and had applied to other schools in the state, but pretty much I was like, I don't want to live in a random city and accrue all this
Yeah.
debt, and so that was kind of my thought of like, since I'm from San Diego, I could live with family and I could keep costs down as opposed to renting an apartment and in a big city and mounting
Yeah.
up all this debt. So yeah,
Yeah, and San Diego's a great place to be. That's pretty much how I chose Cal West as well. So I'm originally from Oregon, and I just knew for a fact that I was not going to stay in Oregon. So I didn't apply to any Oregon
mm,
schools. I applied to schools very strategically.
yeah,
So obviously, San Diego, I applied to the three schools in San Diego, got into two of them, and then I applied to a couple schools in LA and Orange County. I
hmm.
applied to two in Hawaii and a couple in Florida.
Oh,
So
cool.
if you see the trend,
Right, yeah, you want to get out of the
um,
cold of Oregon.
yeah, I wanted to leave law school was for me kind of my ticket out of Oregon because I did undergrad at Oregon, which was great
Mm,
experience. But for law school, I knew I wanted to get out, and I picked Cal West as well because they gave me the uh, the highest scholarship, and San
yeah,
Diego is just was just so much better than the other cities and the schools that I visited. So,
totally.
yeah, so I'm very happy with my choice,
Me too.
even 10 years later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
And then we did the study abroad program. That was my first time going to, that was my first time going to a country after I immigrated to the US. So it was like, I came here, I went to the Bay Area fresh off the boat, and then I did most of my schooling and my upbringing in Oregon, and then I came back down to San Diego by myself. So when I went to Chile, that was quote unquote my first time
Hmm.
abroad, not China or US. But you've traveled for a little bit at that by then. So how was the experience how was the exchange program living abroad experience for you? Someone who's a experienced traveler, live abroad.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, and actually that let me see, this was 2014, so
Oh
in
gosh.
2012, a couple of years before that, I took like a huge South American trip where I went to a whole bunch of countries in South America. So, and I wanted to go, and I had that was one of the my best trips of my life, and so I was like, I want to go back, and so that was a huge reason why I chose
Nice.
go to Chile because I'm like perfect. And I actually hadn't been to Chile, so I when I had gone to South America before, so I was like perfect. I want to you know go back. So yeah, I was um, a little bit experienced, I guess you could say, with the traveling, and so that was a lot of fun to be able to go there and try it out. So.
What countries did you go to on your South America trip in 2012?
I had gone to Brazil, Argentina, um, uh, Uruguay,
Oh,
um,
nice.
and yeah, and I'm trying to think where else did I go? I
I
think that.
super I super want to go to Uruguay.
Mhm.
I think it's such an underrated country because it's just a tiny little country in like the middle of South America that people don't always like think of, but um they're like the first South American country that legalized marijuana, and they're actually a very, very progressive South American country. I've never been. That's what I've heard. That's what I've read. What
Mhm.
was your experience in Uruguay?
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't really spend too much time there, so I can't say I'm like an expert or anything, but it was I had
Yeah.
a really so I was so because Uruguay is really close to Argentina,
Mm-hmm.
culturally they're very similar is what a lot of people
Okay.
say. And so yeah, so I mean I had a great time in Uruguay and the Uruguayos as they call it themselves.
What do they call? Oh, wait, what do they call themselves?
Uruguayos. Well, and it depends how you have the pronunciation. So in because in Mexican Spanish, the and a lot of other Spanish speaking countries, the double L is more like a Y sound. So
Okay.
they would say in San Diego we often speak Mexican Spanish, which would be Uruguayos, but they pronounce the double L like a sh sound, so they would say Uruguayos. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know that too much until I had gone there, and like I remember
Yeah.
being at a restaurant, and they had asked "Quieres pollo?" And I was like, "Quieres pollo? What is pollo?" And I was, my
Okay.
other friend, "Quieres?" And then I realized, oh, that's the way they pronounce it, and pollo is pollo. So
Interesting.
I was like, oh,
Oh.
right, yeah, that was my reaction exactly.
Whoa. That's, I think that I love that story so much because I think people who haven't traveled as much don't realize that like the same language could be spoken so differently. And Spanish obviously came from Spain, but there's so many countries that speak it, and every country kind of has their own way of speaking it. Like when we went to Chile, like they have like their Spanish is so different. Like I'm not good at Spanish by any means. Like I call it my get by Spanish. But when I first went to Chile, I was like, oh my God, my Spanish sucks. And then later they're like, no, it's Chilean Spanish is a whole different thing. It's not you, Chinita. And I'm like, oh, gracias.
Exactly.
Like, cause if they speak it a little bit slowly or use more proper words rather than like Chilean slang, then I can
Hmm.
understand a lot more. But like Chilean, I mean, they have like a lot of slang.
Totally, and
So
yeah, totally, and
yeah,
different conjugations of some
yep,
stuff. So yeah,
y-
it's very different.
yeah. Oh, and in Argentina, they use the vosotros, and I never learned vosotros in school.
Right.
So I was also like having a hard time in Argentina just because I'm not used to their conjugations.
Totally.
Um,
Yeah.
but when I was in Peru, I loved the Peruvians' Spanish.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know if it's because they get a lot of tourism, and they just kind of speak the most proper, or they know I'm a tourist, so they're dumbifying their Spanish for me. I'm not sure, but I when we had that week break in Chile,
right.
me and a couple of our classmates went up to Peru, to Machu Picchu, and I was just like, oh my God, my Spanish immediately got better. I could understand like 85% instead
Right.
of 45%,
It's so
So
true.
that's really cool to hear about, the Uruguay
Right.
Spanish.
Hmm.
Um, and then, so then we came back, finished up our law school,
Hmm.
and how was the overall law school experience? The fun 3 years, and because when you took the bar, it was still the 3 day exam, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think
Okay, yeah,
I think you took yours in February, right?
yep. I took
Yes.
my February of 16.
Yeah. Exactly. So and then I took it in a few months later in December, I believe.
No, no, no,
No, it
July.
was summer. Yeah. Yeah.
July,
Yeah.
July.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you
so
probably got your results in December.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I believe I was the last, like my group was, whoever took it in the summer of 2016 were the last ones who did the 3 day
Okay.
ones.
Okay.
So, but yeah, no, I mean, well, at least in terms of law school experience, I mean, it was a boot camp, a 3 year long boot camp, as I'm sure you can attest to as well, where it was just mental. I mean, we know so many people who, when you start, when we are, our classmates started law school, some of people were in solid marriages and had, their lives
Yeah.
together. And by the end of law school, marriages were broken
Yeesh.
up. It has it reveals things about yourself. It's a boot camp, and it's like, do you,
Hmm.
when you're put under that much stress, things come out that have been hiding in the cracks of your life. And so you
Hmm.
really gotta, if you want to survive, you gotta fight. And so the people who survive and who prevail, they're stronger in the end. And so interestingly, law school, and the bar prepared me for, my hobby and your hobby now too, of like weightlifting and everything,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it has to, you have to, go through pain in order to get gain, basically. So
Absolutely, because just to kind of touch on what you said, law school is very time consuming, very intense. So I think it really reveals people's, true, I wouldn't say true characters, but I think it does reveal a side of people that may not be revealed otherwise. Because I remember one girl was saying that her husband literally gave her an ultimatum like, hey, like, are you going to be a wife or are you going to be an attorney? Because, I guess he wasn't feeling like there was enough attention for him now that she's in law school and she has to study and go to these office hours, especially like your first year, and then our second year is when we start doing internships. So
right,
in addition to paying to go to school, we also got to pay to get to work for free and kiss ass while we work for free. Um,
I know.
so it's definitely tough, but I don't want people to think law school is just like a relationship ruiner, because I also know a lot of people who met their now spouses in law school,
True.
and I'm sorry, what did you
True.
say? Who?
No,
Oh,
I said
true, true. Yes, true. Yeah. So I think that's also something that's beautiful, because it's like, hey, we were in the same boat together. We're gonna go through the whole law school and the bar. And then when they come out, they are in the same profession. It may not necessarily be the same area of law, but I think it's someone who understands what you've gone through in law school as well as the expectation of this career and this industry. Um, so yeah, so definitely I think it's both ways. So if you're listening and you're married and you want to go to law school, don't, I hope this doesn't deter you, but definitely know that it is very time consuming and, um, you really gotta balance your what you need to do for law school as well as whatever relationships you have because it's
Yeah,
um it's a delicate balance.
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so um for us and like now, I don't know about you, but when I meet young attorneys, I'm like, back in my day when I took the 3-day bar,
Right?
right?
I'm like,
Because
well,
I'm just like, oh,
and the bar is just like another. It's like before, it's
oh
like yeah,
God.
almost in a way where they're like, okay, you survived law school, you were able to graduate, but now before we let you go, we're just gonna do one last torture,
Yep,
session
yep.
for a few days, and you might, have a lucky good day, but you may not have a lucky second day. It's like they really want to put you through the ringer.
You
The
know.
people who make it, that says something about them, because it's not easy, you know.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know how it was when you took it, but when I took it, there was a girl sitting in front of me and she took a caffeine pill that morning and she's
Oh,
never taken a caffeine pill before. So she literally turns around. I don't know her, right? She just turns around and she's like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out. My heart rate is going crazy. My heart rate is going crazy. And then me and the other people are just like looking at each other like, don't stress us out. Like, get the fuck away from us. And we're just like, are you okay? Just breathe. Like, just calm down. She goes, I took a caffeine pill this morning and I don't feel okay. I don't feel okay. And I was just like, have you ever taken a caffeine pill before? And she was like, no. So I that was like crazy. Like, I get you want to be alert, you want to be awake, but like, I think don't try anything new like that because you don't know what your body is going to do and you're already running on adrenaline. I didn't even drink coffee when I was taking the bar because I didn't want to have to go pee or go to the bathroom. I literally just drank water because I don't want to waste time going to the bathroom.
yeah, because
Because
well,
that's
yeah, no, I mean, and literally, I mean, even for me, when I would have to go to the bathroom, people are like sprinting, jogging to the bathroom.
sprinting.
Yeah, because like,
Yes,
I mean, because it's a
yes,
time
you
where
gotta run.
to like finish the exam in time, and nobody finishes in time. So you want to get every single minute that you can possibly get,
Yeah,
and you don't want to waste five,
yep.
10 minutes going to the bathroom. So it's like you're just like, okay,
Ten
well,
minutes is a lot.
yeah, yeah, but I mean,
Yeah,
you can't be like, I'm just gonna stroll over there, and take a little mental break, because sometimes
yeah.
people,
Take a little mental
yeah,
break.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on passing the bar for the first on the first try because California is California bar is notoriously hard. So congratulations to you and I on that.
Yeah.
And then after law school or after the bar, we get sworn in. What was your first attorney job?
So I got a post bar with the Alameda County Public Defender's Office. So I had moved up to the
Oh,
Bay Area.
nice.
Yeah, so to Oakland, and so I was working uh, at the Public Defender's Office up there, and so I was yeah, we're working on that was kind of my first job out of law school, and so working on in criminal defense basically. So
Well, so for those listening, your post bar is so after you take the bar, we have to wait like 2 to 3 months before we get our result. So there's kind of a limbo period, and whatever you do in this limbo period is called your post bar because it's after you've taken the bar exam, but before you got the results. So um, after your post bar with the Alameda County in December, you passed the bar.
Hmm.
Did you stay up there, or what did you do after you got your license, the sworn in?
Interestingly, a good thing to learn is sometimes when things don't go well, it actually opens the door for other things in the future that you don't know
Whew,
at that time, but it
whew, say that again, Adrian.
yeah. Yeah, it's just whenever things don't work out, it's actually a good thing at the time. And I know
Yes.
it's hard for people to, even for myself, to accept that at the time, but it usually leads, or you learn something or something. This is a vital thing you have to go through, and it pays off later. And so for me, I got the post bar, basically this position for a year, and then after a year ended, they were basically like, we're not going to renew the contract. So that was
Okay.
very depressing for me, because I was like, I'd spent, I was hoping that
Yeah.
I would get a permanent position there. So it didn't work out, and so then I had to, find a job quickly, because I needed to, you know, make a living. So I was able to find a job at a small, like, mom and pop law firm, doing something completely different, doing, civil law, estate planning. And this was not the area of law I wanted, but it was a job, and they were paying. And so I took it. And basically, the law firm was run by this husband and wife. They were in their early 40s, a good looking couple, and they were killing it. They were doing such a great job. And I remember thinking, like, hey, like, what? I kind of want his life. Like, he, was just, killing it. I mean, like, they
Yeah.
had a really good system in place. And I was like, how do I do what they do?
Yeah.
And then so I worked there for a little while, and then and basically I really tried to learn how they ran their law firm. And little did I know at that time that years later I would be utilizing all the things that I learned there to eventually start my own firm. And it was because I had that experience of knowing how they did it that I was able to do it. Because I think without that experience, I may not have known what to do. So, it's a
Yeah, that's awesome. So, you have since started your own firm, I'm guessing. And how long have you um, been doing that?
yeah. So it's a little over 2.5 years now, and so it
Oh,
was
congrats! That's good.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, congrats.
yeah. So okay, because after that job, I had gotten another job I decided to come back to San Diego again. That's a kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing in my life where I always leave San Diego and I always come back, because San Diego is
Yeah.
just a place I've been able to find. So
Yeah.
so I came back again, and then got another job at another law firm, doing real estate law, and doing title issues, with real property and things like that, and mostly civil focused issues.
Okay.
And so I, was working there. It was great. And then COVID hit. Um, and then at that time, at that firm, they were looking to merge with another bigger firm. And I loved that job that I had because it was very close to where I lived.
Mm-hmm.
The commute was, it was just it allowed for a great work life balance. The pay was good. Like, everything was just great. But then during COVID, they decided to merge with another firm that was a firm in a different part of the county. It was in North County. So they were going to move offices up there. Um, During COVID, they allowed us to work remotely. So I loved that, and wanted that to
Nice.
continue. They were not, the new firm, did not want to have that. I mean, but bottom line, it was not ultimately a good fit. And
Okay.
so I had to take, think about what I wanted to do at that point. And I had a friend of mine who is a financial advisor, And so he had had a client of his who had said, who was looking for estate planning services. And he knew that I had worked in estate planning previously at that mom and pop law firm I was telling you about. And
Yeah.
he asked me, he said, "Oh, do you want, I have some clients looking for estate planning. Would you like me to refer them to you?" And I was like, no, I don't really, at this time I didn't have my own firm. I didn't have any infrastructure in
Hmm.
place. So I was just like, no,
Hmm.
that's fine. And then I thought about it and I was like, wait, there are people who want to pay me to do services that I know how to do. Why wouldn't I
Right.
say yes? So I was like, actually,
Right.
yeah, like, sure, like I'll for sure, help them. And then at that point I was like, okay, well, maybe I can give this a try and see, worst comes to worst, like I'll look for other jobs, but maybe this will just give me some side money while
Yeah.
I'm looking for other jobs. And then so I did not know how it was going to work out at the beginning. I was not expecting to be honest, I was not expecting to make it, but I was like, at least if I can, make a decent amount of money for a little bit, that would be
Hmm.
great. And so that's what kind of, and I had at the beginning a lot of luck in the sense that I had gotten a couple of easy clients, and so I was like, wow, this is like really great. And so that was kind of the beginning of that process for me.
Nice. So, I think you're very humble. I don't necessarily always believe in like, oh, I got lucky, I got lucky. I think luck is the interception, or not interception, is the intersection of readiness and preparation, right? Like you had the knowledge, you had the people skills, and so when the opportunity presented itself, you were ready. And
Mhm.
even if you were a little bit unsure at first, because we're still relatively young attorneys, we're in our seventh year, which isn't super long in the span of this industry, I guess, but we're also no longer baby attorneys. So at that time, I'm sure it was a little nerve wracking to take on clients on your own. But
Mhm.
I'm so glad, like, and thank you for being so honest that you were, a little unsure, and then you're just like, wait, let me go for it. Let me just take the plunge and go for it. And 2.5 years later, Cavallini Law Firm is going strong.
Yeah.
So are you still doing estate planning, or kind of what is your focus for your firm now?
Yeah. So yes, I still do estate planning, but have also do other civil areas of law. So mostly, contract disputes, real property matters, things. Generally, what I want my firm to be is a firm that's accessible for the average regular person out there who you know, owns a home, who lives in San Diego, and are, basically as they're living their life, certain legal matters arise. So, you
Mm-hmm.
may have a boundary dispute issue with your neighbor, or you may have, a neighbor of yours. Causing some kind of local nuisance, or of course, if you're a homeowner, you want to establish an estate plan that may
Mm-hmm.
include a revocable living trust. And so, so basically, for these types of clients, I want to be able to assist them and service them. I also provide legal counsel to small businesses. So a lot of these small, business owners, certainly should have estate planning in place, and certainly, should have legal counsel as to how they're operating their business. And so that's what I try to focus on in my firm.
Awesome. So, do you do more transactional, or transactional and litigation?
Mostly transactional. So,
Okay.
yeah, or pre-litigation matters. I'm not taking any full litigation matters.
Okay. And since you have experience in both, how do you feel about litigation and transaction? Is there one that you prefer more?
I certainly prefer. transactional law,
Mm-hmm.
because you know it's very uh, stressful and time consuming to do litigation. I mean,
Yeah.
especially if you're doing a you know a one way to look at it's it's a game. You know, you want to
Yeah.
outsmart the other side, but you know there's a lot of things that could happen, and you got to roll with the punches. You got to know what you're doing, and it's very time consuming. And so there, it's an art, and for people who are really good at that and who love that, you know, that's great. But it's a difficult art to master.
Yeah. Kind of, when people ask me what litigation is like, I tell them to think of it as a chess game with multiple players where the rules are always changing, but you don't even know the rules are changing. Nobody
Yeah,
tells you what the rules are and how the rules have changed. You just got to figure it out. And it's a multiplayer game. Like,
totally.
so,
I love
so
that.
if
That's so true.
that's
Yeah.
yeah, so that's when people are like, oh, like it's nothing like Suits, it's nothing like whatever they see on TV. The courtroom is not that exciting. We like opposing counsels don't always look that clean.
Right.
It's not that exciting. It's actually quite boring. There's usually nobody in the stands, and if there is, it's just the one or two people who are kind of affected, or they're like friends or whatever. But it's
Mhm.
not. It's it's
Right.
not like Suits, people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So
so
true.
yeah, and then the other great thing about you owning your own firm is that you have time to go to the gym during non-rush hour, right?
Right. Yeah. No, that's like huge. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I can basically, you know, set my own schedule, which is great because,
Yeah.
you know, if there's a time that I need to do something, I'm not available at that time, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
so, and that might be, I need to go to the gym, you know, in the middle of the
Yeah.
day. And, you know, and when you're working as a employee for someone else, they're not necessarily going to give you that time to do that. So it's really difficult to be able to, you know, manage
Yeah.
time when someone else is making those demands of you. So,
Exactly. And
mhm.
you were never like fat or out of shape or like, like whatever. But then when I saw you at the gym, like, gosh, like maybe a year ago, or just like the first time we bumped into each other at EOS, like your physique has made quite a difference. Cause like I said, like you weren't fat or anything, just very average, healthy male body, right? But then you like, you got you bulked up, but you are also still very lean. So it's not like you just dirty bulked and you're just this giant guy now, but you're like very fit. You've got muscle. You've got definition.
Mhm.
Like when did all that start?
Yeah. So interestingly, so when I was in the, so I've basically since my 20s, since college, I freshman year of college, I've always gone to the gym, but I
Mm-hmm.
was just a regular gym goer. You know, I didn't, you know, and back at that time, there wasn't a lot of resources available to even know what to do. You know, you kind of just
Mm-hmm.
at other people and just kind of copied what they were doing, and you kind of just do, you know, do whatever. You know, the
Yeah.
you know the when I had started, I don't even think YouTube existed or Facebook or any of that. You know, it was still the era of MySpace and everything. So you know, none of that stuff. I mean, I'm sure websites existed, but they were probably for you know they
Yeah.
were very obscure. You know, for the regular person. So I didn't really. So that was me all throughout my college and even through law school. I was just kind of the but although in law school I dropped the gym altogether because I just focused on law school, which
Mm-hmm.
was not great, but you know, I was doing what I could at that time.
Yeah.
But but then after law school, I you know when I got the post bar, very stressful, and I wound up just eating a whole bunch of food. So I would back then I was just so stressed out with work. I would go to like
Yeah.
do grocery shopping at Target, and I would just like buy candy, and and I just would eat like really badly, and so I had gained some weight and I was not healthy, and I had gone in for a checkup with the doctor, and basically they told me that my blood pressure, it was not high, and it was not what's called hypertension, and it was not pre-hypertension either, but it was like a step below that. So basically,
Okay.
I was on the path of having high blood pressure, and
Okay.
I there was an attorney, a more senior attorney I was working with, and she was fantastic, and she basically was like, she had high blood pressure, and she was like, you do not want this as a problem, you need to
Yeah.
this like while you still can. And that kind of like woke me up, because I was still young at that time, and I was like, you take your health for granted, and you think, oh yeah, I'm fine, I can eat an entire bag of Halloween candy and be like and it's like I was kind of getting to the age where like, no, actually you can't really do that. And so that started my fitness journey. And so even back then, there wasn't 2016, 2017, there wasn't like the content there is today,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. So I was, you know, um, just still kind of struggling to like, I had found some program online that I was using that still exists and is kind of controversial in the fitness community. But to be honest, for me, it was helpful at that time because I didn't know anything, and it kind of
What
started.
was it?
So I hate to admit it because it's very controversial, but it's basically V-Shred.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
they pop up on my Instagram all the time.
right. Yeah.
Vince.
Right, exactly. And looking at it now, which I have a lot more fitness knowledge, like they don't know what they're talking about. Like it's all just marketing, and it's not. But
Yeah.
for someone like me who didn't really know what a difference between an incline bench presses versus flat versus decline, I didn't know any of that stuff. So for me, even just kind of
Yeah.
seeing some of it made me start thinking about things. And so I had just done one session through V-Shred, and that kind of started my fitness interest, and I kind of
Hmm.
went.
Nice. I love that.
Mm,
Like, it started as something that just like you like again, I appreciate your honesty that with the work of stress, you kind of just sought comfort in food, and that's so common, whether it's a new job or a divorce. Like, cause food is comforting. After a show, like I literally eat until my stomach kind of hurts. I'm not gonna lie. There's definitely been
yeah,
times where I'm just like, I want to keep eating, but like my stomach literally hurts. Um, so
totally.
the fact that you went and took what the doctor said to heart, because sometimes there are people that are like, oh, I'm still 3 steps away from high blood pressure, let me shove down a couple more Twinkies,
Totally.
but you were very proactive in your health. And then what started really just to kind of take control of your health turned into something that um, is a passion now, because I see you at the gym, I see your physique, like you look absolutely amazing. And honestly, like even though it's been 10 years, Adrian, I feel like you reversed aged since law school. Like no lie. Like, you
Thank you.
know,
I appreciate that. Yeah,
so
yeah. Well,
you froze. I don't know
oh,
if you can hear me.
I can hear you. Yeah, can you hear me? Is it still working?
You still there, Adrian?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh,
Hello.
yes, I can hear you.
Oh,
Yeah, so your video's frozen, but oh, you're back.
yeah, yeah.
But
Ah, and
yeah,
I can hear.
um, oh, good, good. Yeah, so like I said, it almost feels like you reverse aged, but in addition to obviously like your physical physique changes, that is something that everybody can see. What other I guess changes has weightlifting and just this new lifestyle that you've incorporated, like what additional benefits have you seen?
So one thing that I would tell myself, if my younger self and anyone else who's listening, is basically don't wait to get into fitness. It is a fantastic. It changes your life. For me, my whole life it has changed.
Hmm.
Not just a lot of times people get into fitness, they want to look better, and that's kind of the first step. Kind of like the gateway thing that gets people into it. But
Yeah.
you definitely don't stay in it because that's the only reason. It has,
Hmm.
it. I mean, I love going to the gym and working out for so many reasons. Gives me a chance to step away from life and just listen to music. Um, you push yourself. You see, it teaches you patience. It teaches you consistency. And when you're like, and you see results, you get addicted, and you're like, I want more results. I want to get better. And then you see other people who have, who are more advanced than you are, and you're like,
Yes.
yeah, and you're like, I want that too.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I think one other thing I would add is um, it also, like for me, it's also a lot of discipline
Yes,
because I compete as well. So there are definitely days where I'm so hungry, I'm so tired, I'm so fatigued. I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to do an hour, fucking 90 minutes of cardio, but it's the discipline, right? And I think, like you said earlier, we've already had that discipline from law school because there's most definitely days where it's very hard getting through those cases, but we got to get through them because I don't want to be called to rise to greatness and then stand there and not know shit, like that's
right.
embarrassing. So
Yeah.
yeah, so like you said, we've already developed some of that discipline through law school, but that's more of a mental thing. So the gym is really kind of the physical aspect, but I think like you said, it is also a mental aspect to bring yourself there and be patient to see the results because muscle doesn't grow overnight. It takes a long time.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's I absolutely agree with everything you've said. Um, but
And
what? Go ahead.
oh no, no, I was gonna say yeah, that I was just gonna add that like it's and start what law school as we were talking about earlier teaches you the discipline, the patience, the consistency. You got to do all of that, and it teaches you also the attention to detail. So like for lifting, like what I was saying, you know 10 or 20 minutes ago when I was talking about when I first started lifting. You kind of just look at what people are doing and you kind of
Yeah.
try to copy them. Um, but they don't know, a lot of times they don't know what they're doing. And so you're copying and then you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like, so like,
Yeah.
you really got to break down, okay, what are you doing? Like when you are doing an exercise, what is your objective? What do you think, what part of your body do you
Yes.
think it's really, building, and connect with
Yes.
that part of your body. And then also be mindful about the other areas of your body. How are your hips? How is your other arm? Are they on, how is the alignment? Like, how are you, doing things that are causing, because a lot of times you want to cheat. You're in this, at an exercise. You want to make it easier. So your body will automatically do things to make it
Yeah.
easier for you. But you got to have that mind muscle connection where you're like, I know what I'm doing. I'm in tune with my body and I have control. And that's why you don't do ego lifting. You want to have control and slowly build up, from there. And then, and it feels amazing when you start doing that, where you can barely do a weight. And then after a certain amount of time, you're like, I'm going on to the next step, and so
Yep.
it's
Yep.
so rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, you see a little bit of results and then you're just like, I want more. And seeing what your body is physically capable of. Yeah, absolutely. Same thing for me. I didn't grow up an athlete. That was not something my parents encouraged. If anything, it was something they discouraged because they're like, oh, why play a sport when you can go to Chinese school? Jokes on them because guess who's still illiterate? Me. Um, but yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Um, But before we wrap it up, is what final message would you like to leave the viewers with or listeners?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that, and this is a lesson that applies to everything, and this is what has caused me to, I mean, I'm an amateur weightlifter, gym goer. I don't compete like you, for example, and like other listeners. So I'm not a competitive bodybuilder or anything. But these lessons from law school tie into, what I'm doing now, and they tie into everything, which is basically, be aware of what you're doing. Be don't be on autopilot. Have control of what you're doing, both mentally and physically. And then once you start doing that, it applies to everything. It's not just the law. It's not just weightlifting. You can apply these to your finances. You can apply these to relationships with other people. Everything is kind of, you just want to be aware of what you're doing, and if you're doing something that you think is kind of off, research that, like why, and try to figure out why you're doing that, and then try to address it. I mean, we as lawyers, what we do is we issue spot, right? We look for issues, and we try to figure out, okay, well, what's, the rule, with associated with
Yeah.
this issue, and then how can it maybe be addressed, and resolved. And that applies to everything. That's the IRAC, as they say, issue rule analysis. And so, but that applies to everything. So I would say anyone out there,
Absolutely.
that would be, something I would want to, lead with.
I love that, and it's so true, right? Because life is intertwined. These we don't live in boxes. So what you do in one area of your life is applicable, and it will bleed over. And I think that was so accurate. I absolutely agree. And so tell the people where they can find you personally, professionally.
Sure. Yeah. So my law firm, as I mentioned, is Cavallini Law Firm, and you can feel free to shoot me over an email. That's Adrian at Cavallini Law Firm, and that's ADRIAN at Cavallini, CAV as in Victor, ALLINI lawfirm.com. And you can also get me on social media. My Instagram is Mr. Fit Lawyer, and that's MRFIT Lawyer, Mr. Fit
And
Lawyer.
I will, yeah, and I'll put all of this in the description as well, so you guys can um, get the link to his website for like whatever legal service you need. He mentioned he does quite a bit of work here locally in San Diego, but also in other areas of California as well. So if you're up in the Bay Area or wherever, do not hesitate to reach out to him just because you're not in San Diego. It's 2023. Like we like you can reach
Right.
out to us. And then I'll also include your Instagram because yeah, so I'm Fit Lawyer Julie on Instagram, and he's Mr. Fit Lawyer, and we did not pre-plan this, people. It just happened, and I love it. He looks great. Thank you so much, Adrian, for your time,
Of
and
course.
I'm really excited for both your law firm as well as your physique growth. And this was so much fun, and I'm so glad we got to catch up.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, the pleasure was mine. So thanks a lot for setting this up.
Of course.